In the words of the goated Jermaine Cole, they sent your pops to prison when he needed education. Welcome to Security Today. We're back at it for another episode of the Security Today podcast, brought to you by your host, Uncle Baer. That's right, Uncle BAER _ on Instagram and Twitter, and at Security Today podcast on Instagram and YouTube. This is the security industry's technician first podcast, bucking all the norms, giving unpaid opinions, and set on providing you the education and brief news highlights that you need to continue to grow and hashtag, remember that? Be the better tech. I, Uncle Baer, aim to be your uncle in security. So give me a like, give me a follow, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. It really, really helps. We're back at it another week for news and highlights, and this train is moving now. It was all jittering, and we didn't know if it would work or if it wouldn't work. But we're out of the stations, boys and girls. And if you followed this podcast or followed me for a while, you know that there's a hill that I die on in this industry. And that is education. I've been told my entire career by integrators that I've worked for that education is so important to us, that they had education tracks to help me advance my career, or they're going to start sending guys to, get this cert or that cert. And the education in our industry comes in the flavor of kind of three modal deliveries, right? Organizational education, manufacturer education, and independent education. Independent is damn near non-existent, but I aim to correct that. And I'll tell you about that in today's meet, okay? Organizational is the certifications coming from organizations like PSA or ASIS, SIA, and the like. And oftentimes, these provide a good basis for hands-off education that doesn't pertain to the boot on the ground. It's kind of general. It's usually death by PowerPoint, but it is a way to gain information, needless to say. They need membership, and so that's often held by the integrator leadership or a company that then gatekeep who gets to participate and who doesn't. The money keeps the individual, though it shouldn't, from climbing that wall because they're usually not cheap, all to get information that won't immediately pertain to their day-to-day, And this is a tall hill to climb for organizations because it takes money and time poured into something that presents its value more through the future installed work and less through the organization ROI. So a lot of integrators battle with this tension of like, yeah, I want my guys educated, but it's, I got to send them to this thing. It's $1,500. I'm not going to make that back for a minute. And he is just going to quit and go to the next guy. And this is the mentality that they get stuck in. And then you have manufacturer education. So once again, capitalism doesn't look fondly on educating those using your product in general information that they can now take to install any company's product. So also they kind of get stuck too because they just want you to know how to use their controller, not advance your career, and not for any malicious intent, but simply because they aren't there to care about your career. They want you buying their product. This means that an individual has to get manufacturer training from different manufacturers to start to see the patterns in physical security to gain a broader perspective and become an excellent technician. Also, your integrator, uses three systems. So they're not going to, your integrator only might use three systems, like 3 access control systems, or maybe an access control system, an intrusion system, and a video surveillance. And so, they're not going to get you manufacturer training on a product that they don't necessarily sell. So there's a cap there too. Now, while organizational and manufacturer training are important, and they need to be strengthened overall in their own right, this kind of leaves the independent education to come in and fill the gaps. And to that, there is a barren field that hasn't turned its soil maybe ever, so we're screwed. We'll get more into it in today's meat section, but even with the organization and manufacturer training out there, the pillar of education in this industry that is going to be the literal catalyst to if our industry flourishes in its own identity or gets washed out and gobbled up by Silicon Valley and their technology sector as a whole, it's going to be independent education. The latter leaves us with a less secure world and could be the very reason that people get hurt and assets get stolen in the future. So it's very important that the independent education pillar starts to really get built up. But we'll talk about more of that in the meat. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. There's a right way and a wrong way to install a camera into a ceiling tile. And I'm about to tell you what that is. Also, if you didn't hear, a bank got robbed, and it was like so classic bank robbery that I just have to bring it up. I also hashtag often be the better tech. This isn't just a mantra to get you to wake up from your slumber. It's actually an educational arm of the podcast at BeTheBetterTech.com to make a soft attempt at filling the gap and strengthening the educational pillar of our industry. So these are the sorts of things that we're going to talk about this week. But first, what do we do every week, guys? We give a shout out to an Instagram handle that is holding it down and filling your feed with security products, security installations, information, education. Sometimes it's a little off the beaten path. Sometimes it's right on the nose. But we want to make sure I want to make sure at this podcast that we're bringing you information that is not just going to be a one piece, hey, this is it, and then you're done with the podcast. No, I want you to go follow the people that I give shout outs to every week so that your feed begins to fill with security education, and it also can be security resources like this week at Ignite.strategic. That's right, IGNITE.STRATEGIC. Look, it's no surprise that the low voltage industry as a whole and the low voltage security companies in our world struggle with marketing, right? Who actually has seen marketing and brand power that causes you to fall into a story with a security integrator? It is not common. Well, IgniteStrategic.net is one of the industry's premier marketing companies that is changing how security integrators display themselves. Disclaimer, I am friends with the gentleman who runs it, and he also had no idea he was going to get the shout out on this episode. It is because I know him that I know that Ignite will put their money where their mouth is and deliver actual data-driven results. It's a marketing company that was built by integrators for integrators. It feels as if the industry as a whole is at the cusp of realizing the potential of marketing, and it's time to step up your game. So do not hesitate. Go give them a follow and a like. Send them a little Baer emoji so that they know that you heard of them here. And honestly, step up your marketing game. If you own an integrator, you got to get better. Just do it. It'll be better for you. It'll be better for the people tuning in to what you're doing. And if you're working for an integrator and you've got marketing ideas, do not hesitate to tell them. If they just immediately shut them down, well, you didn't hear me say this, but find a different integrator, okay? They're a dime a dozen. Work for the good ones, okay? Let's get into the chit chat. If you haven't heard, over the Christmas holiday in Western Germany, thieves drilled into a bank vault and vanished with millions. They used a large drill to bore through thick concrete after breaking in from an adjacent parking garage. They gained access to an underground vault room and forced open more than 3,000 safe deposit boxes. They made off with cash, gold, jewelry, and more, worth up to potential estimates of $105 million. Witnesses later told police that they had seen several men carrying large bags through the parking garage stairwell. That's a sign. And security camera footage also revealed a black Audi RS6. So they got good car taste, leaving the garage early on Monday morning with masked individuals inside. The vehicle was later identified as stolen vehicle from Hanover, which was more than 124 miles away from the heist location. The break-in came with a great deal of insider knowledge and would have taken quite a while to plan and carry out, leading police to believe that this was a truly professional hit. No arrests have been made, and it's looking like leads are thin. Between that and the brazen Louvre heist that happened in daylight, the Ocean's 11 style thief might just not be dead quite yet. Though the Louvre heist four-man team has been arrested, as two were caught on DNA evidence, though the jewels are still missing, leading to a sequel, right? That's how Ocean's 11 worked. It's also difficult to see things like this play out from a security professional's perspective, though. From the gray hat cowboy that your old uncle is, I would be lying if I didn't say it's exciting to see, okay? The difficulty, though, comes in knowing that there are simple methods and devices that can truly deter and prolong incidents like this. For instance, if you happen to have a vault that holds 105 milli of people's personal belongings, it's not just cash. It's like you might have lost grandma's jewels in that. I mean, backed up to another business, you know what I'm saying? Like, should you design your bank to allow for the vault to be backed up to a parking garage or another business or to an exterior wall? Like, that isn't great, but a space where the point is to pull your car in and pull your car out, that's a bit of an oversight, honestly. Now, if I had to go in that location just due to space or expansion, then so be it. But why would you not lend yourself to purchasing things like seismic shock vibration sensors? Estimates say that it would have taken 2 to 4 hours to get through the reinforced concrete wall into the vault. Something like the Honeywell SC100 is designed for, in their words, to detect specific vibrations arising from attempts to penetrate high-value storage units, protecting them against intrusion. They detail that the SC100 can be used to protect vaults, doors, fixed ATMs, safes, and other solid structures. The SC100s are around like $200, 200 bills from ADI. It's got a 15-foot range. $200 is 0.005% the cost of $105 million. And that was the expected loss. So as a physical security professional from halfway across the globe, like, all I can really do is read that story and go, damn. Let's get into the product highlight. This week's product highlight is the Clinton Electronics CE-CTMP-5. Let me say that again. CE-CTMP-5. If you're not familiar with Clinton Electronics, then you've been missing out. I spec'd and installed their ceiling drop pulls for many years. But one of my favorite parts from that comes out of Clinton Electronics is their 5-inch ceiling tile mount plate for indoor cameras. For most of my career, when it came to mounting a camera and a ceiling tile, I used the tried and true method of the old butterfly anchor, right? Quick little 3/8 hole, run that bolt through and the tile and feed the bolt into the anchor. It's easy, right? This installation takes some finesse, though, as you need to make sure that the anchors don't bite down too hard, or you begin to lose that durability in the soft ceiling tile. That's a real problem. I actually had that problem once or twice. And over time, they can sag. And any service of the camera pretty much makes the tile obsolete, because if you're going to take those out and put those back in, it just begins to really, I mean, you know that stuff. It just crumbles away. Well, Clinton came up with a mount plate that uses one single 1/2-inch hole that allows the mount plate to be inserted, and then essentially a large plastic like nut that threads down on this hollow shaft, allowing your cat cable to be fed through the ceiling. And then you mount the camera to the mount, and you can rest assured that with the surface area of the 5-inch mount, you aren't going to experience any overbite, any sagging, and it makes your camera replaceable and serviceable over time. It also looks cleaner on the install. Now, do you need the CE-CTMP-5 to put a camera in a ceiling tile? Not at all. But adding $15 to $20 to your overall camera installation price makes for a more excellent install that will last longer and make your 10 to 70,000 camera system way more serviceable. The point here And the point in becoming the better integrator and the better technician is to make sure that you are making your installs as excellent as possible without adding substantially to the invoice, right? That's always the balance. Installing excellent systems means that they have to have the future in mind. And it means that you take into consideration the aesthetic of the install. For more of my laymen, that means you should be asking if it looks pretty, okay? And you accomplish all of these things involved in an excellent install when using the 5-inch ceiling tile mount plate from Clinton Electronics. Or don't use it. I don't care. Tell us you care not about excellence in your life without telling us you care not about excellence in your life. On to the meat. Okay. How fitting. Be the better tech. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you understand that I am someone who speaks boldly and cries a lot from the town square while standing on an upturned milk crate screaming, "The education sucks in our industry. Repent! Repent!" So it should be as no surprise that I'm here to do that again. Now, it is also true that as a life principle, I try to practice what I preach. The beauty about integrity is that it ends up giving you freedom because there's nothing to hide when the digital dagger eventually finds your neck, right? So instead of you having to get involved with some drama or someone trying to say like, well, Baer always cries about education, but he doesn't even make education, right? Well, I have made sure that I'm at least attempting to get the information I've collected in my head out to the technician in an independent format and for cheap. Seriously, BeTheBetterTech.com. This is my attempt at the independent education pillar in our industry. Calling back to what I was ranting on about in the intro, the independent education pillar is the single greatest weak point in our industry as a whole. That's a bold statement, but I'm a bold fool. So if we can compare our industry to other industries that are growing aggressively, we can use the cybersecurity industry as a tiny example of what I'm trying to emphasize. Do I like using the cybersecurity as an example? No. They took everything from us. Every word, every lingo. You can't even type it into Google without getting cyber before you can even find physical. And I'm pissed about that. But I'm going to use them today as an example. So cybersecurity is showing a compound annual growth rate, that's a CAGR, generally ranging from 12 to 14%. It's expected to reach over 500 billion to 800 plus billion by the early 2030s. So with this crazy amount of growth, cybersecurity has really taken advantage of the independent pillar of education. I mean, you find YouTube channels that give a wild amount of information for free, including Network Chuck at 5 million subscribers, Programming with Mosh at 4.9 million subscribers, David Bombal at 2.9 million subscribers. These are all excellent channels to just get free information. You have a myriad of podcasts that you can choose from with every flavor of cybersecurity represented. You have full-blown courses on Udemy, YouTube, Khan Academy, and even full-blown independent online schools like tcm-sec.com. You can find any study material you need for organizational education from NetPlus, CISSP, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I've done it, okay? The industry understands that you need the independent voice and effort to make it accessible to the general public so that the industry can grow and fill the seats needed to keep up with the wicked demand of jobs. We as an industry in physical security need to do an overhaul of all three pillars of education in this industry. But that kind of means that we need you, the security technician, to not just share the tricks of the trade on the job site to the new guy, but to be posting on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, fuck TikTok. Get off it. That's the worst one. It's the worst of two evils, right? It's like Charybdis in digital form, for those who know. Also, get off Snapchat if you're over 14. My hope is that the independent pillar of education finds a lane and a groove for low-voltage technicians and to help bridge that gap between the white-collar security professional and the blue-collar one. Another motif that I've spent effort to talk about on this podcast. Too many white-collar professionals that haven't touched a screwdriver outside of the IKEA trip with their wife, and too many blue-collars that have never heard a septed pronounced correctly. The strength of the independent pillar of education can't carry an industry by any means, but with a full-blown active labor shortage, it is the only doorstop to hold open the barrier to entry at its widest point, okay? So there are challenges. Listen, I'm not naive. I'm out here doing it. It takes a lot of time at a computer, which a cybersecurity professional might actually have plenty of, and is probably their hobby, but less for a technician or even a security director. So within that time, it also takes new skills. Content creation is no joke. It looks like, oh, yeah, they're just standing in front of a microphone and saying something, or they're just recording about access control wiring, right? And you would think that it was that easy, but it is not. You have to find the school to host it. You have to find the way to edit it and put it into chapters or lessons. You have to find a way to market it. You have to find a way to make sure that your marketing is continuing to post. I mean, it is a full-blown job at some points. So learning how to record and build content while also figuring out how to link payments. I mean, how to schedule posting and grow the reach, the whole nine, man. It isn't for the faint of heart. And we also need to buck some traditional views culturally within our industry to encourage technicians and security professionals to look for education from independent sources. All hurdles that have to be overcome, yes. But if we don't overcome it, we're going to continue having dry, lackluster education that doesn't relate coming from our industry. And we're also going to continue to face job shortages and continue to face non-excellent implementation of physical security. It is the independent pillar of education that helps support the organizational pillar and calls the manufacturer pillar to produce quality resources instead of just shitty distribution, presentations, and booth sales, right? So please go over to BeTheBetterTech.com and start thinking if you are a person who could help fill the independent education gap also. I'm sure you already like to talk. I'm hard-pressed to meet a technician that does it, right? But if you head over to BeTheBetterTech.com right now, I've got a course up for access control wiring that you can take that teaches you the circuits, teaches you how relays work. It teaches you how to build relays and circuits downstream with physical security hardware, how to isolate your control board in case of overvoltage or lightning strike or anything like that. I mean, it does the whole thing, I'm telling you. And it's cheap. It's cheap. So that is on the docket, or that is on the board right now. On the docket, I've got security theory coming down the pipeline. It's already recorded. I'm in the editing stages, and it's going to teach you security theory on how to look at a site, have security theory in mind, and design a site to the most excellent performance or implementation, should I say. And there's a lot more to come from access control basics, video surveillance basics, intrusion basics. I mean, the lineup is stacked with the things that I need to write and record, but it is coming. So just support that. If anything, you run into a guy who doesn't know how to access control wire, be like, hey, man, easy course. It's cheap. Bam. In a matter of like 4 hours, maybe, you could like really have a better understanding of how this stuff is all put together. That's it for the Security Today podcast. Remember to follow at ignite.strategic on Instagram. And don't forget that this podcast is hosted, edited, ran, created, and built by me and me alone, your uncle in security, Uncle Baer. So DM me at Uncle BAER_ or at Security Today podcast on Instagram with your thoughts, your stories, your resources. If you've ever tried any of the products that I mentioned, or if you have any thoughts on the things that I'm saying, please reach out to me. Let me know. give me like resources or give me things to talk about, or let me know what your thoughts are on them. This podcast is driven by interactions with fantastic technicians and security professionals and industry players that are out there right now. And you know that I'm hooking you up with the resources. So go follow on Instagram at Be The Better Tech, the Security Today podcast educational arm, where I try to bring that education that you need to further your career and secure the world. We will see you next week on the Security Today podcast. Woo!